Thanks for coming. So, I'm Jessica Weitz. I'm the National Director of Artist and Entertainment Engagement at the ACLU. What that means is I get to work with artists across all of the issues that the ACLU works across, from immigrants' rights to LGBTQ rights, to voting rights, to reproductive justice, to issues of privacy and surveillance, which comes in handy after the last panel. But we're here to talk about the first one. Number one, the First Amendment and the freedom of speech. So I think free speech for some people can sound very abstract, that it's until that moment when somebody actually threatens it to take it away that it all of a sudden becomes very clear. Our guests are going to tell you a little bit about that today. Over the past year, I also had the chance to see that up close. I helped organize a letter on behalf of Jimmy Kimmel. We had over 500 artists, over 50,000 people sign this letter, and that day, Jimmy was back on air. But he did something that has happened for generations, which is he spoke truth to power and spoke critically about those in power. And you know, it's part of the reason why we at the ACLU do what we do. It's part of the reason why we are so lucky to have the Committee for the First Amendment back and in action. And if we're going to learn one thing tonight, it is history repeats itself. We are going to learn from that, and we are going to do better. History reminds us that our rights are only there if we use them, protect them, and continue to ensure that they are there for the next generation. So it's a good thing we have these two guests with us to teach us a little bit more about that. To my left, we have W. Kamau Bell. He's an Emmy-winning, Peabody Award-winning comedian, filmmaker, best-selling author, activist, known for his acclaimed CNN series, The United Shades of America, for the Mic Drop documentary, The Truth About Cosby. He has built a career using humor to tackle identity, race, politics. He has tough conversations. He tells you what he thinks. And he's also, lucky for me, one of the ACLU's longest-serving artist ambassadors. So thank you for your service.
Thank you, thank you. That bio is way too long when I'm sitting next to Jane Fonda, by the way. That was way too long.
So get seated, because now we're going to talk about Jane. Jane is a two-time Academy Award-winning actor, best-selling author, entrepreneur, and founder of the Committee for the First Amendment. Her career has spanned 6 decades. She is one of the country's, if not, frankly, the country's most visible activists, protesting for civil rights, climate justice, and free speech with an arrest record to prove it. And finally, there's you. Yeah, you in the audience and those listening at home. I hope that you came here to be inspired. I hope that you came here to be ignited. Because after the sitting down and the listening part is over, we're gonna tell you some real world ways for you to use your powers for good. Ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it. So, listen, artists, I think, tend to be among the very first that are targeted by governments looking to silence what it is that you have to say. We saw it firsthand with Kimmel. I think many of us think that's why Colbert and his show is being taken off the air. Why do you think performance and performers are so threatening to authority?
You want to go?
I feel like I'm not going first.
Okay. This is true historically. It's been true, since back to the Greeks. It's because art can show that there's an alternative. There is another way. It doesn't have to be this way. You see, tyrants rely on power and fear and a sense of inevitability, right? It's like Nothing you can do about it. Art says, oh, yeah, we can. Art creates empathy in people so they can empathize across lines of difference. Artists give voice to the margins. We humanize the despised. And most importantly, humor. You see, tyrants and authoritarians can't exist in a room with humor. They rely on this, you know, like, I'm the most powerful. So if somebody comes along and says, he ain't got no clothes on, which is what artists do, ridicule is the most powerful thing you can use against a tyrant. Portland was so great with that, you know, with their blow up things and donuts and frogs and all of that. You all know who Timothy Snyder is. He's an expert on tyranny. He calls this kind of humor tactical ridicule. Tactical hilarity.
Yes.
I think that's a good way to do it. Yeah, no,
I got it.
Yeah, we also we allow people to dream and see things that are differently. And so they have to crush us first. Artists, writers, especially comedians, books. Right now, books are being banned. Now, the head of the FCC, Brendan Carr, just said that if a news organization reports on the war in ways Trump doesn't like, they're going to take their license away because they tell the truth, right? So we're very scary. It's wonderful. Let's be scary.
All those workouts have come in handy with you.
That's a whole other thing.
That's a whole other thing. Kamau?
First of all, it's just surreal. I mean, we hang out a lot, but it's surreal to be sitting here with Jane Fonda. My mom was so excited. Jane made a video for my mom, so I can leave now.
Hi, Janet.
It's also weird that I grew up as a kid watching you, and now we're the same age. I don't know how that happened, but even our hair is the same. I don't know what happened. So let's be clear. Some artists get targeted. Some comedians get targeted.
Well, the black ones first,
Well, yeah, thank you for saying that, yes.
because there's racism.
Well, because as is proven throughout history, the most oppressed group of any society are the funniest people.
Yeah.
That's just, I studied that when I just said it. That's why, and the ones who are the most oppressed people are looking for ways, as Henry Louis Gates talked about, signifying, to communicate dismay through jokes in a way that the powers that be go, that's funny. Wait, did he just make fun of me? Yes, he did. So for me, I feel like I am standing in the giant footsteps of Dick Gregory, George Carlin, Richard Pryor, even some of the existing footsteps of Wanda Sykes, of people who refuse to let the powers that be tell them to get smaller. And I think it's very clear right now who is being targeted, who is being silenced. The whole attack on DEI is a whole attack on black people and black people's ability to speak out and black people's ability to be funded, and that affects the black people in the arts. And it's also a way for those people like me to go, does this mean I stop doing it or do I figure out a different way? And anytime I start to feel like, well, maybe I should stop doing it, as I always say, the ghost of Harriet Tubman's like, oh, is it hard to be a comedian? Is that hard, Kamau, to be a stand-up comedian and documentary director? I don't know what those things are, but is that harder than... So I think for me, it's about keeping perspective with the generation that's come before me to be like, the least I can do is take a screen grab of Trump's face and write ha-ha on it on Instagram. That's the lowest level. The most I can do is go to Minneapolis and talk to people on the scene and make videos and encourage people to see what's going on there. So, you know, I say this because I know we exist in a city that is peopled by the comedians who are committed to being on the wrong side of history. Is that a Joe Rogan comment? Yes, it is. And I know it's not all Austin comics, but there is a type of comedian here who wants to be in the front row seat at Trump's inauguration and doesn't want to be outside holding the sign for free speech.
And not just comedians.
Not just comedians. No, I'm just focusing on, but no, certainly not just comedians.
Why can't this president take a joke?
Because he's a joke.
That's all. Good night.
I mean, just rich white men are historically the least funniest people. Let's just be clear. I don't care that Elon Musk hosted Saturday Night Live. That is not a high watermark for Saturday Night Live. When you're a rich, powerful, and a white man in the society, people laugh when you say something because they're trying to stay employed.
I was married to a rich white man, and he was the funniest person I ever knew. Ted Turner, he was hysterical. Did you ever? No.
No, I didn't mean to.
Hysterically funny.
Well, there's always the exception that proves it.
There's rich white, and then there's rich white. I mean,
I'm sorry to slur rich white men.
So speaking about your storied history, right? Unless we all think that we're in uncharted territory right now, you've seen decades of political protest against both types of presidents, Democrat, Republican. So what makes this time different than when your father, Henry Fonda, started the Committee for the First Amendment in 1947 and now?
The breadth and depth of the authoritarian takeover of the levers of democracy in this country. This has never happened before. I mean, black people have experienced authoritarianism, Jim Crow, and many other things, but it's never been this diverse all across our government. That is new. But there's another thing that we must not forget that is new now that didn't exist then, and that is the climate crisis. It's playing out against everything else that we're experiencing, is this because of fossil fuels primarily, which, by the way, are also fueling everything Trump is doing. Tyrants drink fossil fuels. They're wedded, they bathe in fossil fuels. So fossil fuels are all over us, but they're destroying our climate right now. And we have a very small window before it becomes truly catastrophic and irreversible. And here's the thing that I think is really, we need to understand. We're facing two existential crises, democracy and climate, and they're completely interconnected.
Tell me why.
They have to be solved together, and the clock is ticking. You can't have a stable democracy without a stable climate, and you can't have a stable climate without a stable democracy. When you leave here, really think about it. So this is very different. This has never happened to humankind in our history. And so, wake up, everybody. I mean, you know, here's the thing. Fear is fleeting. Regret is forever. And if you don't act, you're going to go into your grave regretting it. So let's all do it. Let's speak up and rise up and do something, because we are the ones who can solve the problem. It's not too late.
I love a standing ovation, and we're only like 10 minutes in.
Yeah.
You know, but speaking about what we can do, what have you seen from some of the younger or newer generation of activists that you're like, yes, you get this?
Well, I mean, look at Greta Thunberg. How old was she when she sat there in front of the Swedish parliament with a sign? She was an autistic young girl who said, I'm going to do something, and it became the biggest protest in the history of the entire planet. So young people are rising up because they're the ones that are inheriting the future that we've created for them. So we have to do everything we can and bring them along to turn it around. It's not too late. We can do this.
So speaking of trying to get people moving and moving as fast as possible, Kamau, what do you think is one lesson that you have learned through all of your years of activism that, man, if you would have learned earlier, maybe things would have gotten done faster or smoother? Let's give like one cheat code to the audience.
Be in lots of different rooms and learn how to shut the fuck up. I was really fortunate that when I was 24, I moved to the San Francisco Bay Area. I thought I was moving there to be a comedian. I apparently moved there to be a dad and have 3 kids and have a part-time job as a comedian. But I got there and started hanging out with with just all sorts of different people, because I lived in Oakland, I had a day job in Berkeley, and I did comedy in San Francisco. So I saw all the different forms of the Bay Area. And working in Berkeley, you're hanging out with like the dregs of society, the white people with dreadlocks, the ethnic studies majors, you know what I mean? The vegans. And but coming from Chicago, I found myself in rooms often where I was like, I don't know what anybody's talking about. And there's a part of me as a man that wants to be like, I should probably interrupt. But what I learned is like, if I get quiet and let these lesbians talk to each other while I sit in the corner, I will learn something that I can tell to the straights. And so I find the more you put yourself in different spaces where different groups of people having conversations you don't normally have, the more you will learn not to talk to in that space, shut up, but talk to people outside of those spaces about what you learned in those spaces. The more you can sort of disrupt literally your actual real life, three-dimensional real world algorithm, it will actually help your online algorithm.
So it's, yeah. It sounds like we actually should have titled this conversation, Shut Up.
Yeah.
Speed.
Yeah, ACLU and learning the power of shutting the fuck up.
Or listen.
Listen.
Yeah, listening.
Instead of
shut up works too. I mean, it all
I think it's really about, because people
so.
think they're listening and they keep talking. I want you to think about like, I should shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Especially.
And take it home.
And take, yeah, like I should just shut up and listen and pay attention. Yeah.
You are being funny when you say that you are a part-time comedian, but I think that is, frankly, one of the tools that you have in your toolbox for activism. I think that comedy can actually move the needle in a way that maybe, organizers and nonprofits and, all the people on the ground and government with, high-powered jobs can't do. Why do you think that is?
I mean, I think comics are at their best when we're speaking truth to power and then pointing to the people who actually are doing the work. I think when the comic stands in front of people and says, I am the prophet, I mean, Netflix pays a lot for that, but I'm saying that it's not necessarily the way you should be as a comic. So I find myself, I will use my humor to point you to the people who are actually doing the work. And so today, just for example, I found out the story about Dolores Huerta that she shared on Instagram, and all these people on my Instagram were talking about it, and I'm like, this is my opportunity not to weigh in, but to share that this is a story that is happening that we should all be paying attention to. So I find as a comedian, I'm at my best when I'm using my platform and my humor to point to the other people who are actually doing the work.
Also, when you're laughing, your self-censorship is down, your guards are down. And so things can enter you. I became an embodied feminist watching Eve Ensler perform the vagina monologues, and it was while I was laughing, I swear, because I also cried in that play. But it allows you to open up and things just penetrate you that wouldn't normally get in. Yeah.
So we hope it's the good things.
Yeah, I think sometimes people say it's funny because it's true, and I think you need to be careful of that. You can laugh at things that you disagree with because it means the comedian's good at what they're doing. And you can laugh at things, so you're like, I never thought about it from my perspective, but you don't need to laugh at something and make it your whole personality.
Say that again, you don't need to laugh.
You don't need to make it your whole, I think a lot of what is happening right now, especially in the manosphere, is that people will laugh at something a comedian they follow says and think, oh, that's my new political perspective. Instead of going, no, that was just funny, let's move on.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, one person.
You've got your buddies on both sides giving you all the snaps.
Yeah.
Jane, you've talked about creative nonviolent cooperation. Tell me more about what that means and what that looks like now and what's happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, you
don't
see,
know.
protest is good when you have a government that can be persuaded. We're not in that situation right now, so, but there's a purpose for protest. We can get to that later, very important. Now it's creative, non-violent, and we have to stay non-violent or we lose. Non-cooperation means refusing to comply with unjust rules and laws and rulers. You just simply don't participate. And the godfather of non-cooperation was Gandhi. You know, the British, India was a British colony, and the British said, you can't make salt, so Gandhi made salt. They said, you have to wear our fabrics, so Gandhi spun his own fabrics. This is what needs to happen. Non-cooperation looks like what got Jimmy Kimmel back on the air. With millions of Americans that canceled, they didn't just sign petitions, they canceled their subscription to Disney, hit them in the pocketbook. Stopping to shop at Target, no more Target. There's an airline, the name of which I can't remember, Anyway, whatever it is, what is it? Do you know that's the thing that's flying for ice?
Delta? Delta.
No, not Delta.
I mean, not Delta.
No. Anyway.
But, yes.
Anyway, now the thing about non-cooperation is you can do it as an individual. It makes you feel good. You'll be saintly, wear a halo. What it matters is when it's en masse. This is the mass movement is what's important. That's why all of you need to do it together so that you're safer and it will really matter.
I mean, you mentioned the companies, right? And without naming names, because that could be a whole other panel.
I think we just named a bunch of names.
I'm going to just move beyond the naming of the names.
I said Delta and didn't even mean it. I just said Delta. Somebody said Delta, and I said Delta.
Shout out companies.
How am I going to get home tomorrow?
Right.
Anybody driving back to Oakland?
You know, but they do have this power, and we're seeing it more and more with the mergers, with the privatization of how we can speak, where we can speak, the different platforms, and then the companies that are taking over and privatizing. All of this, to me, is just one more hurdle that we need to get over. How does that change how we think about free expression, and what does effective protest look like now because of that? Kamau?
I mean, obviously there's so many different forms of protest. There is something like the No Kings rally, March 28th, where you can go to do that. Not everybody, that's not accessible to everybody, so let's just say that. And I think sometimes we get caught up in like, that's the thing you have to do. And I think we have to understand that like, there are multiple forms of protest. The thing I would ask of you is do something that makes you feel a little bit, at least a little bit uncomfortable. Yeah. If your protest is easy, it ain't protesting.
And that's not the work.
And much like working out at the gym, if you do something that makes you uncomfortable one day, but 2 weeks later you're fine with it, you need to upgrade your protest workout materials. So I would say the thing that I'm constantly doing, like there's things where I'm like, do I really want to fly to Minneapolis like a week after Alex Preddy was killed and go talk to people on the ground? That makes me scared. And then Harry Tubman goes, it makes you scared to fly in a plane? And so I get on that plane. I have 3 kids, I got a wife, I got a mom, I got to navigate all those things. But like the thing I ask you to do is that your protest has to make you a little bit uncomfortable. And the thing we need now that we were talking about, I hope it also builds community with somebody else in your community. So your protest is a way to reach out to somebody else and say, I got you, I see you, I'm here for you.
Especially those who don't have the same privilege and power right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let me just say something about protests, about No Kings. Think of it as a first step. You know, it's important that we see how big we are. We are the majority. Don't forget it. Let's act like it. Okay? And so when there are millions of people at a protest, it helps us. It gives us courage. It puts starch in our spine because we see how many there are. But here's the thing. If you're going to go, and I hope you do, I'm going to be speaking I'm going to speak in Minneapolis, in fact. Go to No Kings, but bring 5 or 10 friends. Bring friends. Okay. And view it as a handshake. Mm-hmm. It's like reaching out and saying, come on, it'll be fine. The fact that you're here matters. It's the first step for people. So bring in people that haven't been to one before. This is something important that you can do. And let me just, since you brought up private business, everybody should adhere to the First Amendment, which, by the way, isn't just speech. It's got 5 freedoms: speech, assembly, religion, press, and protest. All those 5 things are guaranteed us in the First Amendment. Okay, I forgot what I was going to say.
You're going to, well, I know what you want to say.
What was I going to say?
Thread the needle on why
mergers.
First Amendment and mergers matter.
Mergers, I mean, I could go on and on about why they're bad for artists. We have fewer places to take our product. We have less bargaining power. The scripts we write can't have nuance or depth or diversity or anything. But it's bad for consumers because what you're getting is product that is thin, watered down. It's not going to really teach you anything, right? It's also going to cost more. So you should join with us in being opposed to all mergers, especially media mergers. I mean, I'm a guy that loves Donald Trump. Larry Ellison, I'm going to name names, Larry Ellison may control HBO and CNN. I mean, this should be upsetting to all of us. We have to have places where we can go and see the truth and see what's really going on. And they're going to be taken away. So, you know, I mean.
So, Kamau?
Yeah, so I was just to sort of piggyback on what you're saying, Jane. We're best friends now.
That's how we play at this.
Yes.
At this. Yeah.
That first, just to say about the No Kings thing, that I don't think they had back in your day. The great thing about No Kings rallies is they're a great like job fair to learn how to protest. They have a thing now. Did they have QR codes back in the Vietnam War protests? Like if you go to a No Kings protest, there are QR codes everywhere to connect you to different forms of protest, so that you can, when you leave, you have other things to do. So the great thing about No Kings, it's a way to sort of go, this was great, it's an assembly, and then what do I do next? You can meet the people there.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to say about the mergers thing is just to piggyback and say, like, absolutely, my career is not what I thought it was going to be in 2020 when we were when Juneteenth was made legal, and I thought, yay, black people are legal in America. And then things changed dramatically. So my career is different, and so I want to encourage you to support artists directly. Whether it's on their, I have a Substack, Who's With Me? That's my Substack, it's called Who's With Me? But go to artists directly and support them. Think about this, Ryan Coogler had to make $2 billion for Hollywood before he sort of got the privilege to make Sinners, which was my personal best picture of 2025. Artists, it's not gonna, that was an impossible thing he did, and it's harder now. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? So you need to support, if there's somebody out there who has their own version, their own personal sinners, maybe even me, who if you support them directly, they can make it. I look at it this way, I learned this phrase recently from Jack Harlow, I got blacker. Except I'm actually black, so it works. I feel like 2026 is like a DIY year for artists. Like you have to figure out how to do it yourself. You have to DIY your own DEI so that you can get the art out in the world. But that means people like you who used to just go to like these platforms and go, what do I want to watch? You need to actually be your own algorithm and seek out and support artists directly.
If they don't, right, then we go back to what Jane said, which is we have thin dribble and nothing that feels substantial and sustainable, but also that fills you up. And I think, you know, they say don't meet your heroes, and I'm lucky because I get to work with mine, but you show courage in your convictions, but you both make it look so easy. So, Jane, like for you, how did it feel when you are either that moment right before you're about to speak out and say something, or while you're doing it? What does that feel like inside your body?
You mean like when I first started?
When you first started, but even now.
Okay. I was 33 the first time I spoke out, which meant I grew up in the 50s, which meant I was raised to be a pleaser. A girl had to be not too angry, not talk too much, thin, etc., etc. I bought into it entirely. I was once asked by the great director Elia Kazan, are you ambitious? No. You know. So when I became an activist and I first spoke out, I felt free. When they put the handcuffs on me, I felt free because my whole body was united in my deepest values. I wasn't split up into all the things that I needed to be I was one person, faithful to my values. Wow. I don't know, and then what happened was I met people that were different than people I had ever met before. They treated me differently. Barbarella had just come out. And a lot of, you know, there were people who...
Google those photos, you're welcome.
Don't do it at work.
I mean, here I was suddenly Barbarella in the movement. But the women in the movement treated me differently. They actually saw me and asked me questions about, I felt like I was looking through a keyhole at the world we were fighting for. And I just thought, I want to be part of this tribe. And the reason that I'm telling you this, which is what kept me in the movement, is because right now, we all have to be opening our hearts and our arms to people who we don't necessarily agree with. people who voted for Trump and are having buyer's remorse now. And we want to bring them in. We need a big tent. So we have to forgive people, understand people. What you started off saying, we have to listen. Why did they support him? And then we have to be sure that those conditions never happen again, that we never forget the middle of the country, that we never forget our working people. This used to be the bedrock of the Democratic Party and of unions. We cannot, we have to, you know, I'm old, and one of the most important things I've learned is don't judge people by their surface and by their actions. Listen to them, understand why they behave the way they are, and then let's all try to heal together. This is what we need. We need to build community, and we need to put our arms around everybody. We have to grow our hearts bigger than they ever have been before. This is what's going to win it for us. Okay? And that's the truth.
How sexy does activism look when Jane talks about it, right? I mean, Kamau too, but
no.
like,
I want to add one thing. So as I said, Jane made a video for my mom, which was amazing. My mom texted back. I just want to know how real this person is right here. For those of you who may be like, I haven't Googled Barbarella yet. She texted back, we met in the 70s at a Black Panther gathering in San Francisco.
Me and your mom?
You and my mom. She was at a Black Panther, that's in the middle of, that's not like a reunion of Black Panthers. That's in the shit.
Yeah.
She was there. So that's just one of...
Because, no, but, you know, at some point we have to decide who we want to be. Yeah. And I knew I didn't want to be one of those privileged elite people who give out money from the hilltop. That I somehow knew I wanted to be in the valley at the bottom, standing shoulder to shoulder with the people that I was fighting with. And because I made that decision, my whole world expanded, you know, and I became a better actor. You become a better human being. I'm 88 and I'm so happy because I'm involved. Because we all need meaning. You know, the reason I'm so hopeful is because I'm giving it everything I've got. Greta Thunberg, who I think is brilliant, she said, people go looking for hope. No, look for action and hope will come. And I know that this is true. It's what I've experienced.
And you've experienced this too. I've watched you take opportunities and turn them into action-based opportunities. You've been doing this as well for a while, and other administrations.
I'm 88.
You're 88 minus.
87, I'm a little younger.
But I'm going to make you get a little uncomfortable and talk about your feelings, Kamau. And how did it feel for you when, you know, the Kennedy Center, this unbelievable institution was desecrated and turned into something else? On the same day, you were supposed to perform your comedy show.
Yes.
How did that feel when you made the decision to actually perform, which many people did not?
I mean, let me just tell the story briefly because it was such a strange experience. I was literally about to get on the jetway to go to DC to perform at the Kennedy Center, and I get a text from the Kennedy Center that that somebody who works at Kennedy Center who had booked me, I'll just distill it to the emoji that goes like this. And I was like, you have to call my publicist, I'm getting on the flight. And then my publicist, Heather, get up for Heather Brown, my publicist, black woman, doing it. And on the flight, I get a message from Heather that says, Trump has announced he's taking over the Kennedy Center, and my show was the next day. And the Kennedy Center wants to know if you want to perform, because at that point, people started canceling. I was like, I'm on my way. Like, it just felt like,
oh God.
Like, what am I gonna do, go sightseeing? Like, and then I
love DC.
Yeah, I do love DC. And then I had to make the decision of like, because as a black person, if you're a black person in the public sphere and people know you and have feelings about you, then everything you do is reflecting back on black people whether you want it to or not.
Yeah.
And so therefore, if I do the gig, then some black people are gonna feel a type of way about like, I think you should have canceled. If I don't do the gig, then I feel like I'm a coward. And also some black people were like, why didn't you go do the gig? So you have to so I'm on the plane trying to figure out what I want to do. And all I could think about was like, as a stand-up comedian, again, who stands in these giant footsteps of all these other comedians, I'm in the position where I can actually say exactly what I feel as I feel it and call that man everything but a child of God, as long as I get a laugh at the end.
The comedy part.
The comedy part, yeah, that's the comedy. I get why like Rhiannon Giddens cancels the gig, because there's not really the space in your art form to say, fuck that guy.
Right.
Thanks to George Carlin, I can say, fuck that guy, and Lenny Bruce. Fuck, that guy being Trump, fuck Trump, just to be clear. And so, and I was
Not that guy, he's fine, we're keeping
yeah. So I was a comic who was opening for me, Dwayne Kennedy, who's one of my best friends, I've known him forever. And he's also a black comedian, and we had these conversations. I was like, I'm gonna do it because I feel like we should, but then you're in the position of like, I'm on the plane, like rewriting my act. And I was so worried about what, I gotta say this, I gotta make sure I say this, I gotta say that. They had also, at that point, Trump announced that he didn't want any, he'd kicked that, the Kennedy Center had a drag queen in residence.
Yeah.
And Trump had kicked out the drag queen in residence. And so outside of the venue of the Kennedy Center, there was a drag queen protest. It was really a rally, and because it's drag queens, it was an 80s dance party. So I went outside and danced with them and spoke to them before the show to show solidarity. They understood why I was doing the gig. We were aligned. So you can go, some people can go inside and speak truth to power, some can do it outside, and we can all be on the same page. And
how did you feel?
You do
moment?
Like, again, back to being a black person, which I take things to. I am just in a long line of black people who have fought for the advancement of black people in this country, however they did it. My mom's dad was like only a generation out or two out of slavery. Every generation pushed sort of handed the black baton and pushed black people a little bit forward. And so when I think about him, his job as a black person was just to get a job and be employed. And also he worked at the church and was on a community board to help other black people. My mom got she was a textbook editor, and her job was to diversify the English textbooks. Her job was to edit the textbooks. She made it her own personal job to diversify the textbooks that she was editing. So when the baton gets handed to me, I go, if I don't go there and do what I'm supposed to do and make it clear how I feel, I'm letting my kids down. I got 3 daughters. I want to hand them the black baton and go, it's lighter now because of the work I did, and right now I know it might be heavier. So if I take the night off from the Kennedy Center, I can look like I did something, but I'm really just at the hotel eating Uber Eats, you know what I mean? Whereas if I go and say what I want to say and be what I want to be and show solidarity with the people who in the audience who were in mourning for the loss of the Kennedy Center, many of whom haven't gone back, then I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So while I know I made the right choice, people can feel how they want to feel about it, I know I made the right choice, and I know I was a good example, ultimately for my kids, which is the number one thing I care about.
So did you tell him to go fuck himself?
Oh yeah. It was written up in the New York Times. The best review I've ever gotten in the New York Times was that performance at the Kennedy Center. The comedy critic of the New York Times doesn't care for me, but the DC editor the news guy likes me enough.
You both take these moments that can feel crushing and you use it for fuel. It's like you just chomp it up and it like makes you stronger and fitter and ready for this moment. And I know that you can be watching the news right now and or your feed or listening to people and it feels hopeless. I've actually never felt more hopeful than I have in so long. And I think it's because of watching not just what you all can do, but what you all can do. And that gives me hope. Watching people come together in the streets, watching people make these really hard decisions that could affect your financial status, that could affect your family, your safety, and you do it. And watching people in the streets, regular people, standing up for their neighbors who can't come out, who cannot go out and get food, go to work, go to school, that gives me hope. So what's giving you hope? Where do you get your fuel? Where can they steal your...
I'll take that.
Yeah, please.
I feel hopeful too, I really
Good.
do, because I'm out in the streets and I see what's happening. People by the tens of thousands, by the hundreds of thousands are being trained all over the country in nonviolent, creative, non-cooperation. People are stepping up, they're learning how to deal with ICE, they're learning from Minneapolis. Also because once you take action, you're gonna feel hopeful. Really, I promise, it's what happens. Plus, you're going to meet people who enlarge you and inspire you. And it's not, you know, becoming an activist and is not like eating broccoli. It's fun. I have much more fun now than I used to before I was an activist. A lot more fun. But the thing is, join an organization. That's what you have to do so you're not alone. First of all, you'll be safer, but it'll keep you going, it'll inspire you, you'll learn. And there's tens of thousands, I mean, a lot of organizations, right? But one is Indivisible, it has chapters all over the place. You could join that. And again, pay attention to what Minneapolis is doing. I want to recommend, there's a guy on Substack named Scott Nakagawa, and it's called the Anti-Authoritarian Handbook. And it's really, really helpful. One of his chapters is called the Minneapolis Model, and you'll really learn a lot from it, and all kinds of things that are really good. So learn from Minneapolis about organizing. Are you part of a university? Are you part of a church, a union, or your literal street, or your community? Where you have roots, where you have a community, organize it. You know, get together and say, what if ICE comes? What will we do? This is why Minneapolis could win against all the violence that was meted against them, is because they'd been organized. They started organizing when George Floyd was murdered. So there was a church who had unions. The unions represented the restaurant workers and the hotel workers and all that. So as a group, church, community, wherever you organize, make sure that the hotels and the restaurants around you will never serve ICE. I mean, not ice in your drink, but ice.
No, none of it, just none of it, just none of it, no ice.
I do want to make sure that we
organize your police. Minneapolis organized the police. The police were with them, not with ICE. You know, organize so that your neighbors will be.
But that also shows the power of community, right?
That's what I'm talking about, the power of community. Yeah. The carpenters in Minneapolis and Twin Cities repaired the doors that ICE kicked down. There were dads that walked immigrant children to school because the parents were too afraid to go out and bring them food. This is what you can do, but don't do it alone. Be part of a group.
I do want to make sure, yes, please. I want to make sure that we get to some audience questions, so let's do a little bit of a speed round. Kamau, quick. What can people do? Small, not climbing the whole mountain, but what are the first few steps they're going to take? Take out the book.
So a couple years ago, me and a friend of mine, Kate Schatz, wrote this book, Do the Work, which is an anti-racism activity guide for adults.
Looks like a kid's book, but
it's for adults. And it's filled with like histories centering Black women's voices as the center of the book. We're on brand. And we did this because people were always asking, what can I do? And so we were like, we need to, and people who read all the big textbooks always ask, what can I do? But then we were like, look, people just want to know what they can literally do. So we put in this big list of actions you can take. I'm ripping this out of this book. Here you go. Pass this around. Take pictures of it. And I'm not, I'm Xerox copy it. You don't have to buy it. I only have 3 kids. It'll be fun.
I believe you said earlier, support the artists.
Support the artists. But I just feel like there is so many things you can do. The first thing I would say, start in the lane you're already in. You have skills that you fought for in your life. You are good at things. How can you take those skills so when you show up to Indivisible, you go, I'm good at this. What do you need me to do this? You might be good at baking. How can you do a bake sale against fascism? Or how can you just bake some muffins for your next door neighbor who you know works late and doesn't have the ability to get childcare all the time? And you already have the skills. You just have to look at them and apply them in a place where they will help. So I think sometimes people get caught up in like, I need to start a nonprofit. No, the nonprofit already exists. Just put the skills you have. People ask me all the time, Kamau, are you hopeful? And when they ask me that, I feel like because they know the work I do, they want me to say yes so they can relax. Oof. And so I'm always like, I'm hopeful as long as we do the work. So this room that you're in is one of the most privileged rooms in the history of planet Earth. Let's be clear about that. The fact that you got in here, that you got the thing, that you're like 100 feet from Jane Fonda, you're at the height of privilege in the history of the world. That means you have powerful friends, powerful allies, you have platforms. You are an activist. I just turned you into an activist. Go be an activist, because guess what? Fascism's not going to defeat itself, and it's going to require all of us. Pass that around, take pictures of it, and then
buy the book. And that's why you're here, right? And that's why you're listening. We'll give you some tips. We're doing the work, and you're gonna join us. This little experimental play that we're in called American Democracy, it's only 250 years old. We want it to continue. That's the we in We the People. We do this together. So, you're gonna walk out of the room, you're gonna do every one of those things that you've heard. If they are in a community where it's a lot harder than being in this air-conditioned room in Austin, what do you tell them to give them that little extra bit of courage in this moment in time?
Again, if we don't all, those of us who are in some position of privilege, do something, we potentially lose everything right now. This is not a situation where it's like, I'm not trying to overstate things. And so I would say, look, some people can put the Black Lives Matter sign on the front of their lawn, and they know they can, because they know the neighborhood they live in, that's okay. But other people, you can find ways to connect with people online. If you're afraid of being public in your own community about things, that's why it's great to have this online thing we have now, where you can find ways to connect and help online that maybe don't expose you to the dangers, because it is dangerous work. And I don't want to pretend like it's not. It is dangerous work. So you can find, again, there's all these different ways to help people out online, even just by diversifying your own social media feed and following good people, so you have better information to share when you have the opportunity to share it.
And I'll yes and you. There are local organizations, grassroots organizations who provide direct service. We have a question here from somebody saying, what advice would you offer immigrant activists who want to organize and speak out but worry about risks to their safety, legal status in their communities? And I see that a lot. I see that a lot with chefs and other artists, people who ostensibly have this privilege, who are scared out of their mind for themselves and their family. Jane, you're going to be in Minneapolis.
Well, first of all, find out where their allies are. For example, in Los Angeles, we have a lot of immigrants. Many of them, they support their family with food trucks. And so they went out and found, it's an organization I'm on the board of called Homeboy Industries. And people from Homeboy now take those trucks, sell food, and then give the money to the family. That's the kind of thing. Immigrants need to find who their allies are, so that those of us who aren't in so much danger can front for you and bring you what you need when you can't leave your house.
When I was in Minneapolis, I met a man named Amar who owns a place called Migos One Stop, which is like a bodega. He's a Palestinian immigrant, and the bodega primarily serves a Latino immigrant community. And so in the midst of everything going on, he's a Palestinian immigrant, so he's not exactly somebody who can go out and be very loud, may not feel comfortable doing it. All he did was he realized that his people in his store weren't coming to shop anymore. So he started going, okay, if you call, I will deliver you the groceries you need.
Power of community.
And so he doesn't have to put up a sign, he doesn't make a big proclamation, and he's delivering for free. And then some Latino immigrants aren't working because things are hard in Minneapolis and they're afraid to go out to their jobs have been canceled. He's like, well, for some of those community members, I will give them the groceries for free. And so I think the idea being that he's not out there making a loud noise about it, he's not putting a big sign up, he's just doing what he can with the people who are already in his community to support them with what he does in his job.
So Jane.
One thing that's happening all over the country, which you may not hear about because it's hard to get true news anymore, Republicans and Democrats are refusing to allow them to sell the big warehouses to ICE to turn into deportation centers. And they're winning. There was a victory here in Texas and in Florida and Idaho. I mean, that's the kind of thing that people can do. Just don't let them, refuse to let them put up a data center. Texas is really, water is such an issue, and Texas has got a water challenge, and so Texans have to refuse data centers, and fracking takes up, I mean, fight for your, I don't know how many people here come from Texas?
So for those at home, I'd say we're
fight for your water.
30%, 35% fight for your water. But that affects other people too in other states and other cities.
We like water in California. And we get it from Colorado.
Yeah.
Right.
I hope one of the other things that you're all thinking right now is for all of those people that say, comedian, actor, stick to your own lane. Mm-hmm. Stick to your own lane. This is your lane. Yeah. Your lane is to communicate on how to live a life that is full and meaningful and matters. You show it on screen, you show it on when you write, when you work, but this is what it looks like to be a comedian. This is what it looks like to be an artist.
For some of us.
And others.
Yeah.
Just remember, fear is fleeting, but regret is permanent. Regret is forever.
I see the question.
Yeah.
I mean, it says on Friday, my eyesight is horrible.
So the question, I'll read the question. Yeah. On Friday, the Prairieland Nine were federally convicted of terrorism and conspiracy for attending an anti-ICE protest. What are the implications for free speech? And let me start by saying none of us are lawyers on this stage. But Jane, you've been down this road.
Can I just say one thing real quick before we give to Jane?
Yeah.
I feel like what we need to do is talk to you all. Like, you clearly know this issue. I had not heard this issue before, I'll be quite honest. So this is a classic example of me being like, if I was in community or in conversation with you right now, and I'm happy to talk to you all afterwards, let's be clear about that. Meet you out front somewhere. But this is like me talking to you, learning about this issue so that I can share it on my platforms. But again, I wouldn't share it. I would say, where are you at on social media so I can share those resources, and I'm happy to do it. So that's what I can do.
Thank you for the questions, and use your platforms and do exactly what you did here. Continue to use every opportunity you have to ask the questions that are hard, that challenge the people with power. I would say that you speaking out, especially when they can't, is step one, check one of what you're doing right about being a part of this We the People democracy. So thank you.
Just again, one of the things I think is also important about being an artist at this moment is going, I don't know what the fuck that is. I've never heard that before. Please educate me.
And then listen.
Yes. And then you do the shutting the fuck up part.
And if we have more time, we would give that mic back to you all. Jane, do you want to say anything more just to the threat of, this is the basis, I feel, for this work that you're doing now with the Committee for the First Amendment?
Right. I wish that I knew more about this issue, but it's like when Don Lemon was arrested, we all went down to the courthouse and protested. We have to show up in the courtroom. We have to, in as big numbers as we can, show up for these Prairieland defendants and demand that our freedom to protest and free speech is upheld. We have to fight. We have to fight now, non-violently, but we have to come to the defense of the Prairieland defendants.
And I think we have to understand that, it's easy to stand behind Jimmy Kimmel. it's harder to stand behind black and brown folks who are going through this. So I would say make sure that when you're sending out your pro Jimmy Kimmel, pro Colbert, that you're also standing up for people who don't have the same platforms like the Prairie Land Defendants.
And you and I have had that conversation.
Yeah.
Let Kimmel and Colbert be your gateway drug into actually doing things for people who need it. They'll be fine, I promise. But not everybody will. And again, I wish I knew more, and I can't wait to leave here today, not because you all aren't fantastic, and you all are especially so, but to learn more. But that is where organizations like the ACLU, and there's the ACLU of Texas, and there are other organizations who provide free legal service when these issues are at stake. And it's not for one person, because these issues affect everyone. And so look for those organizations. Please support those organizations. As you could probably imagine, they're not getting money from the government because they're suing the government. So they really do rely on the funds from regular people like me and you. So I hope that there are those organizations out there, and support them, and then ask them those questions too. Did you want to?
Well, there's a question about how do we feel about the fact that this
we're gonna.
event-
We're because we're out of time. We're gonna move.
Okay.
We're gonna move towards the end. I want you all to be very clear with yourselves when you walk out of this room. I want you to be really functionally purposeful on how you're going to use this time that we've shared together. We've talked about protest, and we've talked about courage, and we've talked about this joy that we get from doing this work. And we are joyful humans, right? We're doing this, and we are happy to do it. But we cannot do it alone. So we have learned from history, but we have to continue to learn from history. We have to see the work of the Committee for the First Amendment. We have to support it. We have to support artists like Kamau. We have to support artists like Jane. She still has a lot of life left in her to keep putting out work. And this is only one of her many jobs. And support these organizations that are on the ground doing this work day in, day out, irregardless of who is president at that time, or what shadow organization is running the life that you thought you were living. So just remember that when you walk out of here, it doesn't hinge on us and what we said. It hinges on you. And that's why we have the hope. So please join me in thanking my fabulous and favorite guest today. W. Kamau Bell, buy the book, see the tour. Jane Fonda, icon extraordinaire.
Can we stand up?
Thank you.
I think we sit down for a little bit.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.